Hey everybody, it's AFC Northerners. We are back. How you doing, everybody? Good to see you. Woo!
Woo!
It's been a long time, but there is so much to talk about in football land. But first, I want to go through and give the introductions as we always do. I'm Jan David Sutar, Baltimore Ravens. Next up, we've got Chris.
Chris Adkins, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, and then DGBG.
Dave Green, Browns guy.
And then joining us for the first time, brand new Bengals fan, Rob Gressis. Amazing to have you on the show, Rob. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little about you.
Well, first of all, it's amazing to be here. I am a professor of philosophy at Cal State Northridge. I grew up in Dayton, Ohio, and I have been rooting for the Bengals off and on since the Boomer Esiason Super Bowl loss to the San Francisco 49ers. And I don't really have lots of great Bengals memories, but I do carry with me a lot of permanent grudges against teams like the 49ers, the Steelers, the Ravens, the Rams now. So yeah, and the Chiefs. If you're a fan of Ohio football, you have to nourish your hatreds rather than enjoy your successes, because there's not many of them.
I feel like that's part and parcel of being an Ohio sports fan, unless you're just like
unless you're Ohio State fan.
Cavaliers.
No. The Buckeyes. It's okay to be a Buckeyes fan. It's normal.
Rob, it's all right. Let the hate flow through you. Let the hate flow.
I'm way ahead of you. I already hate all of you.
Awesome. Well, it's been probably 4.5, almost 5 years since we've had the show back on. So we're really kind of starting from scratch in a way. So let's start from scratch and start from the top down. Almost all of us but one have brand new head coaches. So crazy for the AFC North to have 3 new head coaches. Two of them have completely brand new coaches. Nobody, like, not even near it. And that's Ravens and Steelers. And then the Browns, DGBG, you pick up a Ravens coach in Todd Monken.
Yes, we did. I believe we robbed you guys of a great coordinator. And then we came back
until he
and
gives up the game halfway through. Yeah.
It's progress, not perfection. Okay. Progress.
Love it. Yeah. No. So, let's start with the Browns, and then we'll go kind of Browns, Steelers, Browns, Ravens, Steelers. We'll go in like alphabetical order. So, yeah, DGBG, what are your thoughts on getting Monken as a head coach now?
I like Monken. I watched the press conference that he did, the introduction, and he said everything right. And I think, that's a general thing. I think all coaches are going to say the right things at that press conference. What caught me was the energy, the passion and the drive to succeed. The fact that he's an older guy who's now getting his first chance at this, I think there's something to be said with age and wisdom, and I think we're in a good spot with him being the head coach. I like the fact that he brought over Greg Warhop to do the offensive line. As we saw last year, like, the offensive line was in shambles. Yeah, injury killed us there, but losing what's the dude's name?
Schwartz?
No, not Schwartz. The offensive line guy. He went down to his son in Tennessee.
Callahan.
Callahan. Losing him, I think, really hurt the whole team offensively. Scheme-wise, the ability to run the ball, pass protection, all of that. And then, last year we had an aging line and injuries caught up to him, and the line was just garbage. Getting Warhop, I think, is going to help solidify that, especially with at least 4 new guys coming in. I think that's going to work out great. You talk about Travis Switzer. He followed Monken over from Baltimore, and I think we got a great run game guy right there. He's going to be the offensive coordinator for us, and I think we're going to see the Browns pound the ball up the middle a lot. Maybe run some stuff off the tackles. I would fully expect to see a lot of the playbook that was used in Baltimore brought over to us.
Especially if he winds up like putting Shadur in as his starting QB1, Like, because Shedeur is going to be a little bit more mobile, but it's going to be interesting to develop, that way.
Shador, now that's I think that's an interesting thing right there with Shador. When you look at it, the guy came on out and played the last 8 games. His numbers weren't bad overall for a guy who was picked in the 5th round, right? Um, I think if he had a full off season and the training camp to work with the ones, I think it would have been good for him. But go back to that offensive line. When he came on, the offensive line was already in shambles, and you're throwing to a guy who can't catch the ball in Judy or struggles to catch the ball. I think the chemistry right there was off. We got Fannin in there, and you could see immediately there was instant chemistry between him and Fannin. Um,
Yeah, I
we're
agree.
we're
Totally
getting
agree. I think that like Monken is, a really interesting hire, and I like his fight. I do like his fight. He feels like somebody who's already a Browns fan in a lot of ways, just like the way that he kind of carries himself and speaks. But thank you for that recap. I know we've got a lot of time. We can talk about Browns all. That could be a whole episode, and maybe it will be. But I just want to recap real quick. So going into Ravens, right? So here we have Jesse Minter, brand new head coach. A lot of like returning faces, which is really cool. You got Anthony Weaver back as DC. We've got some really, really fun stuff. I personally just going to keep this short because I also want to get to the other two guys and talk about head coaches. Is that I am a huge fan of the fact that he's already been in the organization. He's come through the ranks. He's already got a familiarity with DaCosta. He's already got a familiarity with some of the players. And he's young enough and hungry enough, I think, to really kind of push and he's also going to be playing. He's going to be play calling on the defense, which to me is super exciting. To have like a play caller on defense is something we haven't had in 18 years, like to have a coach that calls the plays at the same time. So that to me is really exciting. I really can't wait. I want to see what becomes of our offense under a Minter, because I assume that our defense is just going to improve. I think that it would be foolish to kind of think that it gets worse under Minter. It's the offense that for me is really the question mark, to see how he does use Lamar and the offense on a whole, really. I'm keeping my ear to the ground to see who's coming in, who's filling in for different positions. It's really, really a fun time to be a Ravens fan, which is probably much to the chagrin of, Bengals fans. But really, truly, really enjoy it. I could talk about this all day. So I want to get over to the Steelers. So Chris, Mike McCarthy.
Ooh, Mike McCarthy.
DGBG's face right then.
There's so many things here. And before I even get into that, I'd be remiss not to comment on the Steelers being Harbaugh's last game. Like, his last game was a loss to the Steelers. And what I'm excited about mostly for that is I think that closes one chapter and opens a whole new chapter in that rivalry. Both teams, starting fresh with two new head coaches, one knocking the other out of the playoffs, really kind of putting the nail in the coffin of that coach. The other team just kind of being a little wobbly right now. I see that as being a completely renewed version of that rivalry that we're going to see coming up here in 2026 and beyond. So let me start there. What baffles me about, well, I shouldn't say what. I mean, there's so many things that are baffling about the Mike McCarthy hire. Not that he's a bad choice. It is just so unorthodox for the Steelers. It is so out of character for us to bring in a guy that, in all likelihood, he's not going to serve 20 seasons for us. He's coming in at 62. He's not going to be in that pilot seat for the next 20 seasons like a Chuck Noll, like a Mike Tomlin is. So coming in, kind of knowing that, it tells me how different the game and how different the climate is. That kind of leads me into my next point with that. transition justification. I think it really came down to Tomlin's ability to communicate within the locker room. And I think that his football acumen, his football IQ is as high as it ever was. His ability, which is also his curse, which is to be just good enough every single year, was kind of, pointing towards how good of a coach he was. Just to have never had any of the curveballs thrown at him, losing a quarterback to an injury, losing, TJ Watt or whatever happened throughout a season. But it was clear to me that the younger guys on the team just for some reason didn't seem to communicate very well, didn't mesh and onboard very well, which told me it was kind of a communication problem from the top. So I'm going to look at that as the crux of what started that conversation for Tomlin to move on, which makes me think another 30-something would have been the top pick in that role. We're almost going double what I was thinking the age range would be for our next coach. So again, Mike McCarthy, Pittsburgh guy, really excited to see him get in there, but just wasn't what I was expecting. What I will say is with the Steelers being such a high profile team, I think that pressure will be shouldered very well by someone who has coached in one of the most high pressure situations, which is the Cowboys, in my opinion. So for him to have had that experience, didn't bomb there. I forget kind of what it was that was the end of his career in Dallas.
It was kind of like Harbaugh-esque, it like just kind of ran out like the gas in the tank of the Cowboys is what I kind of remember about.
No, it was he was 12-5 for 3 straight seasons. It's just
he
that
was great.
He kept on not winning in the playoffs. And when Dallas lost to the Packers 48-32 in the first round in 2024, I think, and that was when they had been 15-0 at home over 2 seasons, and they was at Dallas and they got massacred. I think at that point, Jerry, in his constantly mercurial ways, decided I need somebody young and exciting like Marty Schottenheimer, or at least young.
I mean, these guys lose patience amazingly fast. Cleveland, I couldn't have seen Stefanski out this year. A Harbaugh.
Oh, really?
Having had the career he's had, I'm surprised it was abrupt. And then that interview, I'm not sure if everyone saw that with the Ravens owner shortly after that transition. That was a real eye-opener for me. Real eye-opener. I mean, they don't give that guy a microphone too often, and now we all kind of see why. It's like, what did he just say? It was really telling for him to say, had Harbaugh won that game, it would have deferred the inevitable for a week.
What week? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I actually was like, damn, okay, all right.
Yeah, really, like, damn, really? Like that's how you feel
Well,
about
I do like the candidness. Like I appreciate the candidness. I also kind of like that I was on the same page with him, because for me it was the same. Like it's like you got it. All right, another week. So awesome. I want to wrap up
because I want to go over to one last thing. I'll say one more thing, and I want to send it over. It's interesting to also pull someone off the shelf. That I didn't see happening. Someone who's just been fishing for a little while. I'm very curious what's been going on in his football mind as he's been watching the league evolve from the outside. I'm curious to see how it's going to go with someone who's been, on vacation for a little while now. So, please.
Yeah, totally. Well, the one team in the AFC North that did not get a head coach and is still running with Zach Taylor are the Bengals. So now that you've seen like all the other 3 AFC North teams getting bright and shiny new, or not maybe shiny and new, but getting newer coaches, like how are you feeling now coming into, this is Zach's what?
7th year, I think.
Seventh. My bad.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like 5. Feels like 9, but so how do I feel about it? So I will say I wanted him fired. I don't think he's actually a bad coach. I just think what he's good at is not exactly what this team needs right now. He's like if he got fired, he'd get hired by a team like the Raiders in a heartbeat, because he's a really good floor raiser. It's just but that said, like this year there were so many great job openings on the market. Like the Baltimore job was the only job I would say was more attractive than the Cincinnati job if it had opened up, because like, Burrow and Lamar are pretty comparable as quarterbacks, and lots of people would love to coach them, but the Ravens organization, I think, is generally considered the best run organization in all of sports, not just football, but just like all of sports. And so that's going to be an attraction to, a potential head coach. And like the coach I wanted the Bengals to get was the one you guys got, Jesse Minter. And I would have also been really happy with Brian Flores, who I thought was for sure going to the Steelers.
I actually was right there with you. I thought that Flores was a really good fit for the Steelers, but
yeah. So like, given that coaching cycle, I was pretty pleased that we didn't fire him after all. Like, if we had fired him 2 years ago and gotten Ben Johnson, that would have been outstanding, or even Liam Cohen. But like, I'm glad we stood pat. Like, what is Zach good at? He's good at dealing with the front office. He's great at building a culture. He's good at hiring personnel. What he's bad at is clock management, play calling, which are important things. But like, as a play caller, he starts out really slow every year. Like, it takes him a while to figure out how the defenses in the league are working. And then by the end of the year, he's really pretty good. And like, he's figured out how to do stuff. And that's, I think, the main reason the Bengals have a better record, like in the second half of the season rather than the first, is having to do with Zach warming up, not Joe. And so I know we started out 2-0 this year, but we could have easily started at 0-2. Like, we really shouldn't have won that Cleveland game. We probably shouldn't have won that Jacksonville game. It was probably an unfair call. But like, the one thing people keep on saying about the Bengals that they say gives them an advantage is continuity. Like, we have continuity and none of the other teams do, which is like something of an advantage. But I think that like, you guys are going to be bringing out a bunch of new game plans right away. So I'm hoping that we don't play you guys until later on in the season, because I feel like Zach's going to be pretty stymied at first by some of what you do, and we'll rely on Joe to bail him out. But
the schedule was released, right?
Was it?
I think
not like the dates and stuff, but like the teams playing.
Just the lineups.
Well, no, I mean, but is the order released?
No.
Oh, okay.
So.
No, yeah, no, I know,
like,
I know who they're playing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we know what divisions we're playing, but I didn't know whether or not we had.
Yeah, we're playing the AFC South, and I think we're playing. Are we playing the? No, I don't know. I think we might be playing the AFC North, not North, East again too, like our third place team. So we'd play like the Dolphins, I think. But yeah, I mean, if Zach has another losing season, I'm sure he's going out. But I don't think he will. I think we're going to get to the playoffs this year. And how we do, I don't know. I think we'll probably do pretty well if we get there, at least win a game. Hopefully, win more. But that's how I'm feeling about the Bengals right now.
Okay. Yeah, like, I mean, the good news is for you is that, like, while we are dealing with 3 new coaches, 3 new types of like cultures, right? We're going into 3 new types of culture in a way. You've got continuity, so there's something to be said for that. Like, I personally think that because of that, the Bengals this year might be on top early, just because they've already they don't have to figure out anything.
I hope you're right. If they're in top early, then I'm going to be super optimistic, because they tend to do well late. So,
right, yeah, you guys are typically like a third or fourth quarter team, so it'd be interesting to see whether or not you start out as a first half of the season team and then continue that building in, especially like not. I also say that like everybody in the AFC North has a really hard job this year, because there are 3 new cultures coming into a division, which is kind of crazy to have 3 completely new head coaches in one division. That's kind of wild. And so everybody's going to be on their toes for the first few games where we play each other, because nobody knows what's coming, right? And I find that to be, really, really exciting about what is in store for us in the future.
Well, no, you kind of know what's coming from the Bengals. That's the problem. The tape's out on us. We don't know how. I mean, even McCarthy, we know kind of how he plays. We don't know exactly how he's going to work with that Pittsburgh Steelers team. I'm assuming they're going to keep Rodgers, because they have such a good relationship. So, like, fingers crossed. You're crossing your fingers. Is that because you think it'll make the Steelers?
Saying, like, they are like
they're buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very much like this. Not fingers crossed. I mean, sure. I mean,
Like, well, do you want
Aaron
them to
Rodgers
have
continue to
Aaron
throw
Rodgers?
interceptions.
Yeah. I mean, what's the alternative? Who would they get? I mean, they could get Derek Carr. He said he'd play for a Super Bowl contender only if he unretires. And I figure that's his way of saying the Vikings, because I can't think of any other team that's good that doesn't have a starting quarterback.
Next up, Phillip Rivers.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how the AFC North develops this year. There's so much to think about, but I really did want to dedicate this, first kind of back session, this back episode to just really kind of talking about head coaches. So we started off with DGBG. DGBG, going into this season, you've got two new head coaches on the enemy side, with one in uniform of like Zach Taylor. Already know about Zach Taylor, so you've got two new head coaches to go up against. So what do you think you're out? What are your goals for the year?
As in,
what would you like to see the
record
Browns do?
Develop. There has to be improvement. We can't have 2 wins or 3 wins or 4 wins. There has to be at least 5 to 7. Get the foundation to an offensive line. Everything with football starts with offensive line and defensive line, right? And if we can get a foundation, 2 or 3 pieces that we can put there, and then start building around that, that'd be great. Skill position wise, let's see Junkins take another step, stay healthy a full year. Let's get another wide receiver in there. And, if we're going to talk quarterback, I pray to God that we don't go after Malik Willis. I don't think that benefits anybody. I'd like to see Shador try. Let's see what he's got going into this. I think we're going to have a camp battle between him and Watson, and if Watson gives us,
he's on for one more year, right? He's got one more year in his contract.
If Watson gives us the best chance to win, we got to go with that, and then let Shador sit and learn from Watson. Really about offensive development. Defensively, I don't know if we're going to take a step back with the loss of Schwartz or not. It's really the players that go out there and have to perform the plays that are called. Where they were talking on the radio today, possible cap cuts, and they mentioned Ward. Like the guys on the radio were saying how that may be a dumb idea, but if you can dangle Ward to gain an extra pick in the first round next year, and if Shador's not the guy, now you got draft capital next year to move up and get one of the guys that are coming out next year, because that class should be pretty decent quarterback wise.
Right.
That's pretty much what I think.
All right,
I got some questions. I got some questions.
I actually have a question though. I'm listening to Chris talk over there, and we were talking about the head coach, and I heard somewhere along the line over the last week or so that even Tomlin wasn't the first choice of the Steelers when they hired him. He was more like the third or fourth choice. And you guys got 18 years out of the guy, 19 years out of the guy. McCarthy's not going to give you that long of a spell. But you guys seem to do everything internally, right? So you're going to promote internally. That coordinator position, offense or defense, I think that's going to be a key hire. And I don't know who you guys have hired, but whoever it is, I can see that guy then taking the promotion if McCarthy washes out.
You're thinking, I can see that. I mean, if McCarthy could cover the base for, I would say, 3 to 5 seasons for a coordinator to be able to prove themselves for a couple seasons, I could definitely see that happening. I could see him being a great bridge guy, and full respect for McCarthy. I mean, I don't want to speak out of turn here on his career or not have respect for what he has done and will do. But to your point, I mean, coming in early 60s, I just really don't know how to pan out in today's NFL.
And that's the same thing we're looking at over here with Monken. At his age, you're hoping to get 3, 4, maybe 5 years out of the guy. That's why I think those coordinator positions should be key. Otherwise we're looking externally at those coordinator spots. We brought in Udinsky this past offseason or this offseason and tried to get him, and for whatever reason it didn't work out. I think those coordinator spots, especially when you bring in an older head coach, are vital if you want to continue to maintain that consistency level that we're referencing over to Cincinnati. You know.
Dave, a couple of questions for you. You mentioned looking for a little bit of help at receiver. Judy out there as probably a solid 1 or 2 on that team. I could see one to back that up a little bit. But every time I watch the Browns this year, someone who stood out to me, and he's now the player I thought he was going to be 3 or 4 seasons ago, is a tight end in JUCO. I just see him getting better and better now very, very quickly. And he and Sanders seem to have a little bit of chemistry there. I wanted to see what your thoughts were.
Njoku wrote a goodbye letter to the city of Cleveland, and he's pretty much going to go look for other work. He's looking for a different team. I think with the rise in Fannin, I think Njoku saw the writing on the wall. If you look at his numbers this past year, like they weren't comparable to what he has done in the past. And I think with Fannin being there, Fannin's the number 1 guy at tight end. Speaking of that, with Monken, who likes to run the 2 tight end sets, Isaiah Likely, who's a free agent, could be a target for us. You can get the guy and he can come in, he can catch the ball a couple of times a game, but you're getting that run blocking and that pass blocking down the field. I think that's a great signing. I also wouldn't mind having that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was going to say, I think that I have a feeling like EDC will get a deal done for Likely because he's just got great hands. But you might be right. He might wind up going free agency, and it would be a great pickup for you guys.
He would be a great pickup from you guys. And since we're going to play off of that connection between Baltimore and Monken, Lindbaum, your center.
Oh, Linderbaum. Yeah, Linderbaum's another one that we've got is going to be free agent. But I don't know. EDC kind of like winds up working great deals, and we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I would hate to lose either one of those guys because they were really crucial to our offense. But we'll see what happens in the draft too. That's another thing, is that the draft is not far away at all. So we'll have to do an episode on the draft. That'll be really exciting.
In Pittsburgh this year.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, it's in Pittsburgh?
In Pittsburgh this year. Yeah, really
Pittsburgh.
interesting.
So real quick on Ravens, my hopes is one, I want to see a functional offense to match up to whatever the defense that I believe Minter is going to bring. I'm hopeful that Minter brings like his A game on defense, but I also say an A game on offense. So I'm excited to see about that. I would like to see us also win a playoff game. That would be nice. It would be nice to get into the playoffs. It was pretty hard. I watched that last game at a Steelers bar in Baltimore with some friends, and it was not fun. I do have the pictures to prove that I was there, though. But it was good people, good friends. Unfortunately, they were Steelers fans. But for me, I'm really excited to, again, see what we do in the draft, see what this coaching staff shapes out to be. There's so many cool pieces that are, being like put in. And I'm really big on the Jesse Minter hire as it is. For me, it is a question mark of, the system that winds up becoming the new Ravens system. But yeah, I would like, honestly, what I'd like to see is more of a dedication to a run game that stays in all 4 quarters. That would
Mm.
be something that I personally really want. We have Derrick Henry, and I don't feel like we really used him under Monken very well. Monken typically would put him in for 2, and then if that defensive line seemed to be too hard for the scheme, then Monken would just abandon the run and go for the throw, and then that's when we would be in trouble because teams knew that it was coming and they saw it coming. So for me, that was my biggest issue with last year, is that with Monken at the helm, he to me just didn't quite stick to the plan, a plan that probably would have worked. Especially with Derrick Henry. I just don't feel like his schemes on running were very imaginative. So that was my biggest, thing. I'd like to see way more imagination come out of the offense and the defense, really just on all folds. I think that the Ravens really needed a rebuild. So that's that for me. So Chris, Steelers, what do you want to see happen? What are your goals? What are your goals?
Very rare I say this. Very rare I say this. I at this point want to see a full reset. I want to go super heavy in the draft in the next 2 seasons and start to rebuild a championship caliber team. And if that means trading up some draft capital to get a first round quarterback, maybe mid second round quarterback, I think that's kind of what you have to do, man. I mean, it really does come out to be a 10-year investment if everything works out properly, maybe 15 years. So to make that sacrifice once every decade and a half, really sits well with me as a fan. To not have drafted high enough to really go after a quarterback that we saw as a franchise guy has been hard to watch. So, I mean, we had a shot at Malik Willis, a few seasons back. We passed on him. I think that was the Pickett year. And, I don't think anyone saw Pickett being the guy for the next decade plus in Pittsburgh. I don't think anyone saw him, hoisting the Lombardi trophy more than 0 times as the main quarterback there either. So to really go heavy in the draft at least once, get a quarterback that we think is going to be the guy. Because if we're trading for quarterbacks and we're getting guys like Russ and despite his Hall of Fame career, Aaron in his 40s, meh. I think I'd rather take my chances with, and I'm not saying this is the person, but I might rather take my chances with someone like an Arch Manning who might have a really high ceiling down the road after some development. I'm not saying he's the guy. I didn't see enough from him at Texas this year to think we're going to trade in, everything in the draft to go up and get him. There are some internal moves I think we should make, though. And I thought these were so obvious to everyone watching the game. I'm surprised it didn't happen. Our tight end 2, Jonnu. At the end of the season, we used him in a running scheme a little bit, and it worked. It worked really well. I see him as that heavy running back, that short yardage back. I would love to see him in the backfield more. And then kind of flip-flop Gainwell, who was just amazing catching out of the backfield. I'd like to see him in more of a slot role. And then Washington, the 300-pound, 6'7" tight end we had, it was just fucking unstoppable.
He's huge.
313.
Crazy huge.
We could not really figure out how to throw the ball to a tower like him and have him come down with. I mean, it was pretty excruciating to see the red zone offense really not capture that kind of asset and take care of a guy. I mean, take advantage of a guy who's got that kind of size up and matchup problem. I mean, who are you going to get to guard a guy that's 315, 6'7", can jump and move? Like, who's going to guard that guy? So to have not really seen him have double-digit tight end touchdowns this year when we struggled as much as we did, not having a true heavy, hard-nosed running back who's going to go in there and get those tough yards. So the things I want to see: 1, go heavy in the draft. Don't be scared to trade up and go get someone that we need who's going to plug a gap and be there for a while. I think we should make a couple internal moves to put people in the right positions. And, hey, if we have a sub, I don't even know what, losing just under the
8-9.
Well, 9-8. If we lose 9 games, it's not the end of the world. That's the point.
Honestly, I think both you and I would be extremely happy if the Steelers went like 3-14. You could get Arch Manning, and I could see the Steelers lose 14 times. Yeah.
Just this much. I mean, look,
I kind of love that idea myself.
Yeah, our interests are aligned.
As long as those 2 wins are both against the Ravens,
painful
I'll be all right.
until that draft. And we just haven't drafted any higher than, I would say, probably in the 20s for a couple of decades now.
I think Pickett was 21 or something, right?
Ugh.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Rob, so Bengals, what are you looking forward to? What are your hopes? What are your goals for this season?
Well, I mean, it's obvious that the biggest issue is the defense, right? And it has to improve. I believe through the first 11 games, we were the worst defense in the history of the NFL through 11 games. Now, interestingly, though, we finished the season, I think, at the 27th best defense, which doesn't sound great. But when you consider how far we were down, that suggests that in those last 5 games, we actually figured things out. And like what I think they need to work on, and this is like obvious to any Bengals fan, is they have to get better linebacker play. Their linebackers were for a while the 2 worst linebackers in the NFL. I'm talking about Demetrius Knight Jr. and I think Barrett Carter is the other one. I don't even remember the other one. But we need to get a veteran linebacker to help support them and guide them. And then we also have to improve our pass rush. Like the game against the Bears, it was really pathetic. Caleb was just standing there for 6 seconds at a time, just figuring out what to do because we were just being swatted away like puppies. But I think we can do that. I mean, I think our quarterbacks are really good. And I think the safety room's fine. And when it comes to the offense, I just wanted to see the Bengals be less predictable and not throw from shotgun 90% of the time. And Zach definitely improved that. Like Joe Burrow was going from under center a lot more than he'd ever been in his career. And that's really important to our offense is always like at least top 10, but often like 6, 7. But it really, given those wide receivers and given Joe Burrow, it should always be top 3. And I think it's because the scheme is just too predictable. And often we're playing from behind too. So I think I have confidence that since Zach did finally change that I'm optimistic about the team. I think the fixes are obvious and straightforward and pretty easy. And so I don't see. I mean, there's a lot of defensive players they need, but I think they can find them in the free agency market and to some extent in the draft, especially because we pick at 10. And I do think Shamar Stewart's going to improve this year. In his first game, he was actually really good against the Browns. It was only in the second game when he got injured that the season spiraled out of control. But he was injured and he's a rookie. So I think he'll do pretty well in the second year.
Awesome. Guys, it has been so much. I have so much I could still talk about. But I know that we've all got families and things and stuff to do. So I just want to say to you guys, thank you for making yourself available. We hope to do another one of these soon because there's so much to talk about and do it in a little bit more of a structured way. If you are new to the channel, please do us a favor. If you like this, hit the like and subscribe. Make sure you do that for us. We've got more stuff coming at you. And yeah, it's really good to see all you guys' faces. It's been so much fun. I've been dying to hear your thoughts about your coaching staff and for also just the organizations that we both love and hate in this division. So yeah, I other than the sign off, which is what we always do. Do we have any last parting words, DGBG?
No, I think we need to do another video probably within another week and a half.
I think you're right.
Combine.
I think that
we got Combine coming up, and I think that there's a lot to be discussed right there.
I'm
And we'll
excited
have the
about the
draft short
combine.
in April. We got franchise tags going on between now and the first. So there's quite a bit that we can bring another show back and talk about here in another week or so. So
Love
if you
that.
do watch this, check us out. Yeah, stay tuned because content's going to start flying at you guys.
Ha. Awesome. Chris, anything you want to say before we hop off of here?
I feel like the Bengals should have fired their coach just to be cool like the rest of us. So we all have something to talk about.
Yeah.
Like you should have just
Should have
done
been
it.
the cool kid.
Why not? Right? You're only weirdo with your coach now, but I think the stars aligning, and again, I mean, to have three coaches in one division and two of the three coaches, I mean, decade plus establishment within their teams, it is going to be a completely different division this season. I mean, night and day difference from last year. I'm really looking forward to seeing what that means.
Yeah, totally agree. Could not disagree at all with that. Like, I think that it's gonna be a wild year of AFC North football. Last year was pretty wild.
It'll be interesting to see of the three teams who develops that identity first. Like who finds out who they are first. That's it. Yeah.
Totally agree. Absolutely agree. Rob, anything that you want to say about Bengals going on?
I just want to say that, like, if the Browns want to get rid of Myles Garrett, we'd be happy to take him. I mean, he's 30, right? His best days got to be behind him, right? It's not like he's maybe the greatest defensive player of all time.
Yeah, it's not like he got 20 plus sacks this year.
23, and the last one on Joey B. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's a 17-game season, so asterisk. But yeah,
still nothing.
Man, I want Miles Davis to come to the Ravens. So
Miles Davis.
I mean, Miles Davis. What did I say? Miles Garrett.
I mean,
Miles
the
Davis
ghost, the ghost of Miles Davis.
Come back with a trumpet.
Can he pass rush?
Bitches brew comes in, right? Oh man. No, I think that, like, I completely agree. I would like to see Myles Garrett go somewhere else other than the Browns.
I think the Browns have suffered enough. We can let them have Myles Garrett.
Okay, that's fine.
There ain't a team out there that's willing to pay what they would ask for. You're talking like three
first round,
probably
two seconds.
At a bare minimum.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. Really, really great to have talked to all of you guys again. And again, if you like what we're doing here, make sure you press the like and the subscribe. And we will see you hopefully next week or so, pretty soon. And in the meantime, we're going to sign off as we always do with Fuck the Patriots.